On today's episode of the podcast, we're talking all about change. There's been big changes in my life recently and in so many of the people around me that I thought it could be great to simply understand the benefits of change and also how to handle change when we feel like it's been thrust upon us. So, we dive into simply the neurology behind it and how change can be beneficial, but also what happens in our body when change feels a little bit too much, too quick, too soon, too overwhelming that we get paralyzed and we don't really know what to do. So, in this episode, I make it really simple and easy to understand how to harness the power of your body to navigate change. I also dabble a little bit in astrology because, eclipse season is coming up and it's fascinating to notice the trends that are happening in everyone's life globally. So, let's get into the episode. Hey, I'm Dr. Anthea Todd, and this is What's My Body Telling Me? If you've ever felt like something's off, but your tests say you're fine, or you keep ending up in the same patterns with no clear reason, you're not broken. You're just not listening in a way your body needs. Here, we do things differently. I'll show you how to tune into your body, not your bias, and understand your symptoms to reconnect to the health that actually feels good for you and your life. Because your body isn't the problem. It's the solution. And your journey starts by asking one question. What is my body telling me? Ready to listen differently? Let's begin. Today, I wanted to jump on the podcast and talk to you all about change. Now, I don't know about you, but in my life personally, and also a lot of my friends and family at the moment, there are a lot of people experiencing big change in their life. And I wanted to get into the neuroscience behind change and why it can be great, why we can actually feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes in change, and how you can listen to your body and work with your body if you are coming up to a period of change in your life. And I also wanted to dabble in the astrology of it. So I'm not an astrologer, but I do love to understand the global or spiritual, astrological impact sometimes that things can be having on our lives, particularly when I notice that there's a theme amongst pretty much everyone in my life. So let's talk quickly on the astrology. As I said, I'm not an expert in this, but if you are across this, we are coming up to a eclipse. So an eclipse happens every year and they happen roughly 6 months apart. And what I understand is they are a opening and a closing of a door. So around these times, you can expect things from the past or new things to come in. It's a period of change. Or sometimes you might be someone that's trying to make a change and you feel stuck. It's like, why does this person, this experience, this job, this thing that keeps coming up in my life, why does it keep coming up? If you are noticing this trend, I want you to have a think about, it seems like it comes about every 6 or so months. I had someone in my life that they had broken up with a partner, and then the partner sort of came back around 6 months afterwards, or they would just bump into them in a random environment. It wouldn't have made sense that they would have bumped into them then, but they bumped into them. And then subsequently at the next eclipse, they bumped into them again. So if you are noticing that patterns are playing out and they're around the times of an eclipse, this can be a sign that there's something that you haven't sort of moved through or understood, learnt from whatever that experience is. So that's just a dabbling in astrology. As I said, I'm not an expert in it, but I just find it really fascinating when I look at patterns and I can see so many people in my life that recurrent patterns are coming about, and it always typically is happening for them around an eclipse. So when you're listening to this, have a quick Google when the eclipses have been and the themes of them, and just look back and go like, oh yeah, that was happening in my life around then too. Particularly if you're noticing things around, say it's a relationship or it's work situation, or you're trying to move, anything where you're trying to create a big change in your life. Now, let's get into the science, the neuroscience of change and how you can support your body with this. So, I've done a podcast on this before on body story action. So, this is how we can think about our brain. So, our brain has all of these amazing components. We have the amygdala, the brainstem, the medulla, the medial prefrontal cortex, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, all of these huge words. The good news is you don't have to remember any of them because they're all working for you now right away. But we can actually use them when we understand them. We can use them to help us. So if you are someone that is trying to navigate a change now this change might seem small. It might be like, I'm trying to figure out what new gym I want to go to, but for some reason I'm paralyzed by this decision. Or it might be that you're trying to navigate what to do in a specific relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship, one with a parent, with a child, one with a coworker. There's something coming up around there. Or you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need a drastic change. I need to move house. I need to move countries. I need to change my job. So there's varying degrees of change, but every single day, our body is keeping us within a fine balance of change. That is literally how our body grows and evolves. It's how you are sitting here or walking, listening to this, or driving, listening to this, being able to walk, to drive, to listen to this. Your body has adapted, grown, changed in order to be able to do that. So change is great. Change doesn't feel so good though when it's unexpected and it feels like, quote unquote, too much of a strain on our body or a stress on our body, because stress is good when we have the resources to be able to balance and cope with that. So this is what some people term as homeostasis. It's sort of like that thermostat in your body, if you will. If you wanted a room to be at a perfect 21 degrees Celsius temperature, you have that thermostat being able to go, oh, it's a little bit colder, we're going to warm it up. If it's a little bit hot, we're going to cool it down. So that's what our body is trying to do with homeostasis internally. Body temperature is one of them, but also so is our heart rate, so is our blood sugars, so is our hormones, so is our behaviors. If we are in continual stressful environments, our behaviors will change to remove us from that because our body needs to come back to equilibrium. So we need that change in a way that also feels stable. Because I don't know about you, when you have gone through a rapid growth period, whether the growth period is, I've just had a baby and whoa, this is my first child. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is like I'm going to throw you in the deep end. This is a big growth moment. It can feel uncomfortable. And I'm saying this as someone that hasn't had the fortune yet to have a child. But I see it amongst so many people, and you hear so many people say, you just have to roll with it. And it's a huge change. So I want you to think about, in terms of any small change in your day or big change in your day and life, how can we do this in a way that is growth and it also feels nice and nourishing to our body? And this is where we bring in the body, the story, and the action. So if you are someone that is going through a period of change at the moment, whether it is trying to decide what new job to take, it's moving house, it's having a difficult conversation with someone, it's going, oh, I know I need to make a change and I know I know what to do, but for some reason I'm just like paralyzed. I can't take the action. This is where we can use the body. So for instance, if you are of that latter category that I just mentioned, you know what you want to do. You know the actions to take, but you're struggling to take an action. So this is telling me this is a symptom that your brain is stuck in the story component. So we have 3 components of the brain: the body, the story, and the action. The story part of the brain is where we default to, because the technical term for it is called the default mode network. It's where we default to when we're not in the body part of our brain and the action part of our brain. So I want you to remember that, because that's really, really important. Because often when we're stuck in this story part of our brain, symptoms of this is we struggle to take action. We might be feeling like we're procrastinating. We can ruminate. We can be trying to make sense of the world. We're trying to create a story that helps us understand who we are, who other people are, and what the world means to us. We're developing that story. And this is where we can think about, for instance, the placebo effect. We can have a pill, and one person is told a story that that pill is full of these amazing chemicals that are going to make you happy all your life. And then another person is told that exact same pill is just a sugar pill. So the difference, even though it's just a sugar pill, is that someone who believes and has a story about that pill will have a different impact because their story is different. So we can actually use this to our benefit and also to our detriment. So if you are someone that finds yourself in the story part of your brain and the story that you're hearing isn't a very nice one, or it doesn't feel like it's beneficial for where you want to go, that's okay. It just means you've defaulted there, and we can go into talk therapy. We can go into whether you want to ask yourselves the 4 truths. You can see psychotherapists, psychologists, coaches. We can stay in there for a really long time and use it to our benefit. We can. Or we can also pair that with using the other parts of our brain. Because remember, we default there when we're not in our body or not in action. So if we are not liking that, we can try and rewrite the story. But the best way to actually rewrite this story and create a new reality for yourself and create that change that feels like it's a healthy level of change, it's a nice level of change, it's a change that you feel like you can, quote unquote, cope with, we can actually do a couple of other things. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, procrastinating, stuck in story, not sure what to do, you're in that story part, you're like, yes, hello, yes, that's me. What do I do? I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I've got my hand up because, yes, I have also been there too. And if someone says they never have, I think they're lying to you. What we can do is we get into our body. So what I mean by that is the body part of our brain is the part of our brain that is responsible for detecting what is salient, because the technical term is a salience network, what is salient, or another word is important to our body. So if the part of our brain that detects our body detects that our heart rate has increased, then it's going to be like, oh, okay, should I be concerned? Is there something going on that I need to be running or fighting? If it detects that our breath has become shallow, if it detects that we are hot, if it detects that our estrogen is low, our progesterone is low because we're at the start of our menstrual cycle, if it detects that it's really light outside, or if it detects that, oh my gosh, my bladder's really full, I need to pay attention to that. So it's detecting all of these sensations, both internally in our body and also externally. Like if you're listening to this podcast right now and wherever you are, the fire alarm goes off, you're going to stop paying attention to this and what I'm saying and paying attention to, do I need to do something to move myself into safety? This is this part of the brain. So I want you to think of this as the remote control. So if we think about the story part of the brain, think of it like watching a story or a show on Netflix. So we're watching that show and we might love that story. It might be, I love watching Love Actually, for instance, around Christmas time. I'm not going to change the channel because I love watching that story. So if you have a story that's working for you, absolutely, keep using it. But if you're noticing that you have a story that's not working for you, that's making it harder for you to make a change in your life, we need to grab the remote. We need to change what show or story we're watching. So the remote is your body. That is the thing that is the catalyst and helps us create change, particularly when we're feeling paralyzed or overwhelmed with the change. So, how do we get into our body? There are so many ways that you can do this. One thing right now, you're listening to this, I want you to pay attention to what your skin can feel. How does your top feel on your body? How does your bum feel on the seat? Or how do your feet feel when you're walking? Just pay attention to the feeling that you can feel and pay so much attention that you have to try and figure out how would you describe that sensation to someone that had never felt it before. So you're getting so granular and present in the moment. You might choose another sense. You might think, okay, what can I see? Or what can I smell? What can I taste? So we're focusing on a sensation of the body. Now, if you are someone that doesn't feel safe in their body, you can focus on things that are external. That can often be a great way to mitigate that and gently come back into your body over time. So if you're someone that doesn't really feel comfortable in their body, focus on picking something up with your hands. Say, for instance, you're holding your phone. What does the phone feel like? So that is getting you into the body part of your brain. Things like breath work, things like yoga, things like going for a run, moving your body is going to get you into your body as well. So that means you have grabbed the remote. So now you have way more control over what is actually happening with that story on the screen. What's happening with that movie? So now it's about going, okay, well, how do I actually change that movie? I've got the remote now. How do I change it? Well, this is where we need to take an action. How many times have you been told everything looks fine while you still feel exhausted, bloated, anxious, have skin issues, period pain, and totally feel off? Without saying it, people are thinking it's all in your head. But you know something isn't right. Your body knows it too. And let me tell you, your symptoms, they aren't random. They're messages. Messages that blood tests don't always pick up because they only show a snapshot in time. Great when you're bad enough to need medication or surgery, not so great when you want to make sense of your body. If you really want to understand what's happening beneath the surface, that's where Test Your Fundamentals comes in. This isn't just another test. It's a functional health tool that gives you real answers. Using HTMA or hair tissue mineral analysis, it gives you a 3-month report card of how your body's been functioning, internally and externally, showing exactly why you're feeling the way you do. Unlike standard blood work, HTMA can detect nutrient imbalances, heavy metals, and deficiencies that could be wreaking havoc on your hormones, mood, metabolism, and gut. So instead of guessing what supplements you need or throwing money at another miracle diet, this gives you real, personalized answers about what your body actually needs. Here's how it works. You'll get a personalized HTMA test, a breakdown of your results in plain English, access to practitioner quality supplements, and a step-by-step lifestyle recommendations tailored to your 4 fundamentals. So you know exactly how to support your body your way. Your body isn't broken and it's always working for you. You just need the right tools to listen. That's what Test Your Fundamentals gives you. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start taking action, head to femalefundamentals.com.au and order your Test Your Fundamentals hair test today. There's also a link in our show notes. So this is the third network of the brain, which is the action part of the brain. Technical term is the central executive network. Again, don't need to remember that. It's all about taking action that you have to focus on. So if you remember back to when you first learned how to drive a car, it was exhausting. I don't know about you, but I would drive for half an hour and I would be yawning and thinking, oh my gosh, how do I get from A to B? I've lived in this town my whole life. And for some reason, now all of a sudden I have no idea where I am because there were so many things that I had to focus on in my action part of my brain. But now I drive and I can eat, I'm changing music, I'm looking at the GPS, I'm thinking, how did I even get home? I can't even remember going through that stop sign or that red light. Did I even stop there? Because everything's become automatic. So that action part of your brain isn't as active. So you will find that you'll be in story part, you'll be driving and you'll be thinking about yourself and who you are and, oh, that argument that I had with my mum a week ago and what does she think about this, or the story part of your brain. You've defaulted there. So this is where when we've been in our body, we get into our body, then we take a small action or whatever size action feels okay in your body to take. And that's going to be different for everyone, depending on the baseline of how your body feels at that time, how regulated, quote unquote, your nervous system is. So when you can feel into your body, feel calm in your body, generally the larger what's called your window of tolerance is. So the larger your action can be. But that doesn't mean that that's always the correct thing. The correct thing is always what feels right for you and your body and your life. So it's not to say someone goes and makes a really big change and goes, you know what, I'm going to sell my house, move overseas. And it's like they have the capacity to be able to do that. For someone else, absolutely not. It is, I'm going to get out of bed and have a shower today. And that is a huge thing for you. It's not to say that one is better or worse than the other. That's what your body needs at the time. So you've gotten into your body. Now you take the action. The action is something you have to focus on and takes attention. So for me, for instance, if I notice that I'm in the story part of my brain. I've been trying to figure something out about myself, about another person, about something in my life or my business or relationships, finances, health, you name it. You're trying to figure that out. You're stuck in the story part. What I will do is I will do something that activates my body and action part of my brain. For instance, playing tennis. I'm moving my body. I'm in my body. And I also have to focus on the action that I'm taking. If I'm in my head and if I'm not focusing on what's actually happening, I play terribly and it's not a fun game to play with someone else. Same thing if I go and play golf, or for instance, I might go, you know what, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time to learning something new that I have to really activate that part of my brain. It's a task that I have to pay attention to. That's the two things. It's a task that you have to pay attention to, will get you into the action part of your brain. So why I'm saying this is because when you're in the body and then you take the action, big or small, what happens is your story changes. We actually create change by taking the action. So let's reverse engineer this and summarize it quickly at the end here. You want to make a change in your life, big or small, or there's a lot of changes happening around you and you're like, I feel like I have no control over what is happening and I'm freaking out. That's okay, because what we can do, the first step, get into your body. That is the remote control. Okay? So however feels good for you. It might be when I lay in a bath, that's really great. When I go for a walk, I'm going to pay attention to the feeling of the sun on my skin, or I'm going to do breath work, or I really love yoga, or I'm going to sprint as hard as I can. Whatever it is, you're getting into your body. And then from that place, we take an action. And when we're in our body, we allow whatever is coming up to come up. We're not taking the action to then get away from it. For instance, like, okay, I'm going to sit in my body. I'm going to feel my emotions. And oh my gosh, I'm feeling really yuck in my body and it just feels really uncomfortable. I'm noticing this anger come up, all of this heat. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I want to take an action to get rid of it. What's it saying? Oh, it's saying to punch something. Ideally, do not punch another person. Obviously, we're not doing that. I need to go back and tell my teenage self that. I used to chase my brother around the house with a knife. I never reached him, and I don't think if I did I would have done anything. But that's where, when we have that feeling and we try and get away from it, or try and instantly act on it, that's where we become reactive. So when you come into your body, I do definitely want to premise this. Come into your body and allow it to be there and have the acceptance of it there. So this is a skill, and you get better and better and better at it the more you do it. The more we do it, the more expanded our window of tolerance is, which basically you can think of as the more expanded our ability to create change and cope with change when it feels like it's being thrust upon us happens. So into your body, even when it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to do this to be able to cope with whatever's happening in my life. You're just doing it as a part of your day. And that is simply, oh, I'm having my cup of coffee and I'm feeling the sensation of the cup on my hands. I'm noticing the smoothness or the bitterness of the coffee. Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it frothy? Is it not? So your focus, doing that gets you into your body. So it's not that you have to set aside a specific part of your day to do this. You can do it at any point in your day. And then from that place, we take an action, big or small, whatever feels like it is doable for you at that time. But it's an action that you have to focus on. And the thing is, when you do that, that's when momentum builds, but also that's when you change your story, because it's like taking the action to actually click the remote, select a new story, and then all of a sudden a new story is playing. The same thing happens in your life. You can't just sit there and go, I want to change this. I want to change this. I'm going to think my way through this. We have to, one, yes, get clear on what we want, get into our body, but then take an action towards it. Change never happens unless there's actually an action towards it. And then all of a sudden, your story changes. So I want you to think about that. When you feel like change has been thrust upon you and you feel out of control, or you may feel paralyzed about how do I make change, or, oh my gosh, I've just moved house, for instance, like I have, and there's some things that have changed around. How are you helping to support yourself with that and make the most of the change and find the change exciting versus daunting? And really the big difference with that is how well we can be in our body and feel safe in our body and then take small actions towards that. One thing I'm feeling needs to come in here, final thing, is having the thought process behind this of self-compassion. Because you might be someone that possibly is like a temperament of mine where I can be like, okay, got to change, continually growing, continually doing all these really exciting things. But when sometimes I make a change and it's amazing and great, if there's no self-compassion, what I'll do is I'll continually need to be in that pattern of change and always be growing, doing something even better, even better, even better. It's sort of like moving those goalposts. But when you come from a place of doing this, not from a desire to have to do it, but it's an internal, oh, your body really wants to do that. And it's this grounded change versus a rapid need, have to change. And it's that calm, steadiness that you feel in your body, which is a lot nicer on your nervous system, which is one of those main fundamentals that we talk about. So if you haven't gone back already, I would highly recommend listening to the first episode that we released, which is all about your 4 fundamentals, because those are the 4 things that your body needs. So when we talk about that body part of our brain, 1, focusing on the sensations, yes, getting into that, into your environment, into your body, but internally actually caring for your body does support your story. If you've listened back to the body story action episode, you will even know if you haven't slept well or if you've eaten junk, the stories that you're telling yourself or the stories that your brain has access to are typically not the ones that work for you or that feel nice. I know if I'm tired, jet lagged, if I've been hungover, generally I'm not thinking the most amazing things about myself and the people in my life and the world. It's generally things that aren't that. So when we actually care for our body, the stories that we have access to are generally ones that work for us. So that's where we think about our nervous system, metabolism, nutrients, and blood sugars. Those are our 4 fundamentals. So if you haven't already, I would highly recommend going back and listening to that first episode, which is all on your 4 fundamentals. Also, the other body story action episode is great. But for this, if you're undergoing change, have some self-compassion. Everyone undergoes change. But again, come back to, oh my gosh, I'm noticing that I'm in the story part of my brain. I'm ruminating, or I've defaulted here and I feel stuck. I don't know what action to take. I'm paralyzed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. What do? We get into our body and then we take a action that feels doable for us at that time. It can be as small as putting your shoes and socks on. It could be as big as signing a contract of $1 billion to buy a massive estate of something. I don't know. It could be something huge or tiny, but that's the action that your body most feels like it needs at that time. And that is all we can do. So thank you so much for joining us on the What's My Body Telling Me podcast. And thank you so much for listening to your body differently, because remember, your body isn't the problem, it's the solution. Until next time, I'll see you later. Please remember, this episode is for educational purposes only. Always consult a qualified health practitioner before making any medical decisions. Every body is different, and so is every healing journey.